What's happening? Andy here today. I am joined with Brett Apold from ARCOA. How are you doing, Brett?
I'm doing well. How are you, Andy?
I am great. ARCOA Group is, well, they're all over the place, but where are you guys located?
Right. We sit just north of Chicago in Waukegan, Illinois. So right on that Illinois-Wisconsin border.
Okay. So Midwest, it's right now for us, for you, for all of us in the U.S., it's election day. Hopefully you went out there and you voted. I joked with you before. I won't ask you who you voted with. How's your area doing with the COVID? What's going on? We're right here in the beginning of November, and things are spiking everywhere. So what's happening with you guys? You are at the office now, it looks like.
I am at the office, yes. And, recyclers are considered an essential business. So we have been open throughout all of this. It's been an interesting time for sure. Probably one of the biggest takeaways that we've experienced this year is the high demand for laptops, right? Lots of people doing work from home, having to make that shift. So there was a huge demand for laptops. So given that, while companies might be hesitant to release a lot of those because they want to hang on to them, if you are in a position to get rid of those assets that still have value, the market is significant for that right now. So that's been really good for us moving through the back half of 2020.
So let's take a step back, and many of my viewers will be familiar with one of the companies, one of the subsidiaries of ARCOA is Midwest Copier Exchange.
Correct.
But there's several other groups. You deal with a lot of recycling. Why don't you give us the overview? Who is ARCOA Group?
Yep. Midwest Copier Exchange is sort of the foundation of this company. And for the last 10 years or so, they've expanded into IT asset disposition. So we work with companies in helping them remarket and or recycle those assets that are being dispositioned, that are coming out, right? So we have a strong sort of partnership with those customers, and what my team does is call directly on businesses to work with them on those assets that are getting disposed of. So really, we try to work with IT managers in being more proactive. They always get excited about new hardware, new software, great at implementing that, and then all of a sudden they realize, well, I've got a pile of this over here that I haven't thought about what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah.
And obviously, data is of the utmost importance, as well as I think people forget that often those assets still have value. So what we'd like to do is help maximize that ROI on those assets that are coming out, give funds back to our clients. Where there isn't value, then it's about making sure that we're properly recycling those assets.
Okay. So for my audience, right, the typical office equipment reseller, printer reseller, managed IT, those types of dealers, when would they call ARCOA? When would they call Midwest? So they've got copiers, printers coming in off a lease. Yep. They've got laptops that are old that just got refurbished from a customer. And then what? You pick them up, you take them, you provide packaging. Is there any funds in this, or is this simply they're just cleaning out space in their warehouse? Do they get a check at the end of this? How does this work?
Yeah, so one of the benefits of working with ARCOA is we do have our own logistics, right? With Midwest Copier Exchange, we are everywhere in the country, weekly and monthly. So we really have a national footprint to help service our customers. And utilizing that logistics fleet, we're able to cost effectively pick up people's used IT equipment as well. So, it's something that we really can be competitive on. And again, we look at, given the age of that equipment, if that equipment is 3, 4, 5 years old, there's typically still value in those assets coming out. You get beyond that, typically not. Apple gear, of course, always retains its value longer. But even RAM and processors can still have value that we can pull out of that. Otherwise, it is about responsibly recycling. So we responsibly recycle those assets. We are an R2 certified company. So what that means is none of those assets go into landfills. So it's a landfill-free policy. And so, so we work with an extensive list of customers across both the Chicagoland area and the United States.
So it's basically found revenue for resellers who aren't working with you, right? It's a chance to clear out your warehouse. It's a chance to not only do that, but go into your customer base and find out what do they have sitting on their shelves that you could just, most of the time that stuff just sits there because they don't know what to do with it, right? It's not necessarily that they're keeping it for some big payout. It's just that you just can't throw it in the garbage. You just can't, dispose of it the way you do most of your general recycling and glass paper, whatnot, right? So there are components in there that need to be handled responsibly. Does the dealer get to say that, we're handling this with these certifications when they work with you? What does it bring to the table for them?
Yeah, and there's, and I should mention, Andy, I mean, we have formalized sort of a program that is specific to copier dealers who are in that managed IT space, as well as MSPs that are out there, but we're calling it ERAS, which is Electronics Recycling as a Service. And so that allows copier dealers and managed IT companies to extend that service to their customer base. Because again, the need is there. Everyone we talk to says, yeah, absolutely. My customers are asking me all the time, hey, I've got this stack of PCs, laptops, et cetera. I need to get rid of them. Can you help me? So we're trying to work with those copier dealers who are in that managed IT space to provide that service to their customers. And really that's a differentiator for them, right? If you can provide that service, that differentiates you from some of your competitors.
So this is a new service. This is not something, it's not your typical ITAD, the data sanitation. This is an expansion for ARCOA.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily for you, but definitely for the channel. Or is this a whole new program completely for you guys?
Yeah, this ERAS is a brand new program. And really what we did is we looked at the benefits of our Midwest Copier Exchange and the relationships and network they're baked into in the whole copier dealer space. Copier dealers are all looking to grow revenue and grow their business. So a lot of them are getting into or have been in that managed IT space, which is, again, then a natural extension for us to say, listen, this is what the other part of ARCOA does, is work with businesses to recycle their old electronics. And again, a lot of those copier dealers in managed IT, they're buying new hardware for those customers, right? So they're managing those assets, they're servicing them. This is the last piece of the puzzle, right? To complete the service offering. And again, typically it's just an afterthought. So we're really trying to educate and move that process into more forward-thinking aspect, right? Like, when is the right time to refresh and buy new hardware? When is the optimal time where I can still get value back on those assets coming out to put towards those new purchases I'm making? And Andy, we've had
the timeliness of this with where, your customers, my readers, these are the resellers. So now their customers are all out in the field, and, we're all dealing with, the situation that we're all in, right? And a huge percentage, I would think more than a basic majority, probably a pretty significant number of their customer base is looking at or already has explored adding or changing the hardware, right? Everyone goes home, so everyone needs new laptops. A lot of people are getting printers at home. A lot of people are getting scanners at home. There's equipment that's timing out at the office that now needs to get sent back that I may not need to refresh, right? Maybe I went from A3 products to smaller A4 products at people's homes because, at least for the foreseeable future, that's the way my company's going to look. What's the opportunity look like as the shift is going on in the office and the general office out there to a remote office with all the technology piling up? What's the opportunity for dealers to go out there and ask their customers, do you need me to get rid of this?
Right. Well, again, I think because there's two parts of that. We do see some of those customers are hanging on to equipment just because of the unknown.
Okay.
But I think there is a new reality formulating where there is going to be a mix of working from the office and at home. And I think a lot more people are going to be working on laptops. Those typically have a shorter lifespan. So those are refreshed more often. And again, we see so often that people don't proactively deal with those assets coming out. They store them somewhere until someone forces them to get rid of them.
Yeah. Well, what do
you run out of space?
What do you do with it? You just can't leave it at the side of the road. And I mean, even if you could, you shouldn't, just because you probably want to make sure that it's been professionally cleaned. I mean,
exactly.
I feel fairly comfortable with the systems that I use when I return something, but I use Apple, and it's a pretty simple. It's hard to mess up, cleaning it all off, right? If there's a button that just says clean it all off. But when you're looking at other assets that you may not be as familiar with, or, you're just not as techy, you're leaving passwords in there. If you don't do it right, you're leaving, really you're leaving access to your accounts, your bank accounts, it's scary if you think about it. And you think about like your parents or even people who just aren't as educated in electronics, right? It's a great opportunity, I think, for the resellers to go in and ask questions, probing questions, to find out what are you doing with it. Do you have these things piling up in a room? Because I'd be willing to wager a lot of companies have a big room full of just stuff that they don't know what to do with, and they're hoping someone will just come in and take it away, right? I mean, where is it? What types of products are we talking about for the trade-ins, for the? Is it just laptops, or is it just what types of electronics are you guys looking to cycle out?
So the really short answer is if you can plug it in, we'll take it. Now, there are some carve-outs to that, but the core is PCs, laptops, tablets, networking gear, cell phones. So those are sort of the key categories that we would take in.
Okay. And you guys have been around. When did ARCOA open up shop? You've been around. Midwest is where it started, right? So
correct. Over 30 years.
When was that? I did come across that at some point.
In the mid-'80s.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Correct.
Right? So, huge company now. I've actually seen the big giant ARCOA 18-wheelers rolling down the road when I used to do more road traveling. Haven't been doing that so much lately, but hopefully sooner or later. But it was one of those, do I try to take the picture of it while but it's cool. You're a big company, you've been around forever. You've been a big presence in this industry, but you've outgrown the whole, we'll take just your copiers and printers, and now you still do that. That's still a core piece of what you do. But now it's whatever else that you can find, like you said, whatever plugs in, right? There's a check waiting at the end of that if you can take that off the customer's hands, and that might be something a dealer can turn around and either give some of that back to the customer or just put that back into the company for margin. I mean, don't forget, you're doing the customer a huge favor. If you guys would just do pickup over here, I could fill up half your truck with just a bunch of tube TVs, and honestly, I have laptops, and everybody's got that stuff laying around, and your office is no different. You have tons of that, and nobody knows what to do with it. So if you're a dealer watching this, we'll put some connection links into the bottom of this video. You can visit ARCOA, you can visit Midwest Copier, and get in touch with Brett and the guys over there. And you can learn about what you can do to maybe make some money and help your customer out at the same time. This isn't rocket science, right? You're already in there. You're already talking to them. So, Brett, this was great catching up and learning a little bit more about this program. Congrats on launching it. Any last words, any messages you want to throw out there for everybody before we leave?
No, again, I think most people have heard something that they've experienced, right? There's a need for everybody to make sure that they're properly recycling their electronics, and ARCOA is here to be your partner in doing that.
Well, greener is, sustainability, and these are all messages we all want to convey to our customers. It makes us look good as an industry. We don't always look like the greenest industry with the, some of the things that
right,
how we got to where we are today. Just a toner cartridge in general is just not the greenest thing, right? But the machines have gotten greener, the process has gotten better. Companies like you are to thank for that. So thanks so much for taking some time out of your schedule. Appreciate you stopping by the show and whatever, and filling us in on what's happening with ARCOA. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate the time.
You take care, and have a great rest of your week. Take care, bro.
Bye-bye.